So you've heard of Sisyphus, yes? Sisyphus is a Greek hero, a Greek mythological hero. He did something bad. He did something naughty. And in the infinite wisdom of Zeus, he was cursed. He was cursed to always move this boulder up a slope, like a hill. And as soon as he reaches the top, well, the boulder would just slide down the other side. And he would only be freed from this burden once he managed to perfectly balance that boulder on top of this hill. But of course, the myth of Sisyphus is that every time it gets the boulder to the top, well, it rolls, and then you keep doing it again and again and again and again and again and again, and you never see progress. That's what the term Sisyphean task means. Like you keep doing something, but you never see progress. But the thing is, in real life, this is what the Sisyphean task looks like. It's that there is a goal and there is actually a way to get there, but people don't progress after this point. They just keep doing, like they roll the ball down and then they roll it up, only to have it roll back down and then roll it up because they're always relying on motivation. They never get to the other side. That's the real version of the Sisyphean task because, like, actually, let's look at this mythology, right? Let's look at the story. If there was really a Sisyphus in real life and he was actually trying to move a boulder up a real hill, what would actually happen with time? If he puts in 1,000 repetitions, 10,000 repetitions, 1,000,000 repetitions, well, three possibilities are possible. First possibility is that the boulder gets destroyed because you roll it up and down so many times that it starts to crack, it starts to fissure, it starts to wear down, and eventually that burden is destroyed through your quote-unquote Sisyphean task. Second possibility is that the slope, the hill, gets flattened because the boulder has like crawled up it so many times that the slope is flattened, and then you don't have a hill anymore, and then you have one. The third possibility is you die, in which case the burden also lifts. So what I'm trying to say here is there are no Sisyphean tasks in real life. Either the boulder is destroyed, or the hill is destroyed, or you die. So there is always an end. There are no Sisyphean tasks in real life, which is a relief because you know that first you're gonna die anyway. Like everybody's gonna die, and don't buy into the Brian Johnson bullshit. Like he's just starting a cult. So you're gonna die. I'm gonna die. And for a long time, I thought that if I was healthy enough, if I did all the esoteric health stuff, that I could extend my lifetime. But looking at it closely and more deeply, it's not gonna happen. And this is actually a recent realization for me in the past year that yeah, I'm gonna die like 100%. Before that, I thought that there was a sliver of chance that I don't die, but I will die, and so will you. So at the end of the day, there are no Sisyphean tasks because if nothing else, then the task ends when you die. So the only question becomes, well, what do we do in the meantime? And the answer is, well, I'm going to build it out for you in this lecture. I'm going to build it out for you in this lecture in a way that you'll never forget. So first M that we want to avoid is motivation. Let me write that down so that it stays on our whiteboard. All right. First M to avoid is motivation. Don't need it. Don't want it. It's a fickle friend. Better to have an enemy than a fickle friend. Second one, and this you're really going to disagree with. Like motivation, yeah, I mean, you've probably heard this idea before that motivation, you don't need it. But the next one is it's more of a more controversial, let's say. Mindset. I don't think that the quest for improving mindset is actually a healthy one or a good one or a fruitful one. Let me explain what I mean. So the first time I really heard this word and really absorbed it or believed in it was because of Andrew Tate. So he used to say, well, mindset above everything. And what he meant by this was, well, like, friends might leave, your cars might be seized by the Romanian government. Oh, by the way, this is just like alcohol for spraying the whiteboard down. Distraction. I'm getting distracted. So he used to say, well, no matter what happens, the one thing which will never leave you is your mind. So his big example was even in the Romanian dungeons, well, he always had his mind and he was able to use that opportunity to fortify his mind and he has a really good mindset, et cetera, right? But here's the question. If I asked you to prove to me that Andrew Tate does in fact have a good mindset, well, what would you actually do? You would not be able to point at his words because, well, anybody can say that they have a good mindset, right? You would instead point towards, well, you could point towards his kickboxing victories, right? To win a championship 4 times in a row at a martial arts, well, surely that requires mindset. But then again, his victory at kickboxing was an action and an observable outcome. It was an observable action which had an observable outcome. Is it a mindset? You're pointing towards an action to give me proof for mindset. So what's going on here? There's something fishy, right? Let me give you another example. David Goggins. David Goggins, like nobody is going to say, like everybody's going to agree that David Goggins has an amazing mindset, right? He talks about the concept of stay hard. The idea that no matter how hard the external circumstances get, well, you always remain there. You're always getting harder, getting stronger. And that's a David Goggins thing, right? You never slow down. You always go through the pain. Well, if I asked you to prove, well, that David Goggins has a strong mindset, what would you point to? You would point to the fact that he's a Navy SEAL. Again, that is an outcome that is earned through actions. He went through Navy SEALs BUDS, which is one of the hardest things that anybody can do. He went through Army Ranger School, so he earned the Ranger tab, which Ranger School is like the biggest suckfest that exists in the U.S. military. Maybe MARSOC has it equally hard. He went through SEER School, which is another absolute nightmare to hear people speak about it. He went through all these difficult military schools. And after he got done with those, well, he ran ultramarathons, 100 miles plus, insane. And they say that, by the end of these ultramarathons, he was like pissing blood and he was still running. So again, these are observable things. This is the key which I want to drive here, is none of these things are in the mind. Like, what do we talk about when we talk about mindset? We are looking at observable things. Like either he completed those ultramarathons or he did not. Either he earned the Ranger tab or he did not. He either earned the I think it's called a Budweiser. It's the Navy SEAL Trident. It's the thing which they pin you with once you become a Navy SEAL. He earned that or he didn't. So these are achievements, these are outcomes which are observable and verifiable in the same way that his actions are observable and verifiable. He either did the 1,000+ pull-ups or he didn't. There's either a video of it or there isn't. So when we talk about mindset, another example, Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan is statistically more likely to have missed a practice session than a actual playoff. So if somebody asks me, well, Michael Jordan, he has a great mindset, right? I'm like, yeah. But what do they say? Prove it. Then again, I would point to the fact that he always shows for his practices. He never misses practice, ever. And that's, again, an observable action, which you can actually track and observe. So when we talk about mindset, we're falling into a trap. Because what even is the mind? I've looked for an answer for this and I found none which are satisfactory. Show me the mind. What is the mind? Now, if I ask you what's the brain, well, I can give an answer for that. The brain is a certain organ. It's in a certain place in the body. It has a certain weight. It has a certain size. And if you wanted to, you could put probes in it and you can see the electrical impulses firing. The brain does exist and you can observe it and you can study it. But the mind, what is the mind? Many different answers from many different religions, many different schools of thought, none of them satisfactory. So when we can't even define the mind, what do we talk about mindset? And so I would not let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to like real people, right? We're talking about David Goggins and Michael Jordan. Let's talk about real people like you and me. A lot of people fall into this trap that they're not succeeding in life because their mindset isn't good enough. And then they do all this stuff to improve their mindset without instead focusing on what actually moves the needle, which is the actual observable actions. And the key is observable. If you can't observe it, it's fake. And so I avoid the term mindset not because I don't think it matters, don't think it's a useful, well, I guess that's what it is. I don't think it's a useful term. Whether it exists or not aside, I don't think it's useful. And because, like, let's say somebody actually wanted to improve their mindset, the advice that you'd give them will be to do the actions which are conducive to a strong mindset. So again, you default to actions. So mindset is just a middleman. Just cut the middleman and just go to the source, which is the actions. So where does that fit in our journey? Motivation gets you started, but doesn't keep you going. But let's say you get to the bottom of the moat. This is the hardest place to be in. And here's where people assume that they need mindset to keep going. But this is where they fail, because mindset is an amorphous term which has no meaning. So motivation starts you off. Mindset. I can't spell. Hold up. I will fix this. Before proceeding. There we go. Mindset keeps you stuck because you're just spinning your wheels. You're just going to be stuck here waiting for the right mindset to kick in, but it's never going to kick in. And you just stay here, and you just stay here. Now, the third M, and this one you're also going to disagree with. If you disagreed with the other two, you're going to disagree with this one for sure. Because the third M is meaning. So we're all on a quest for meaning. You've heard of this term meaning. Jordan Peterson talks about meaning. He wrote a book called Maps of Meaning. There's another famous and influential book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So for me to say, well, meaning is not something that you should be in a quest for, it's a sacrilege, right? It is to dismiss the work of great men before me. But I want to explain this in a better way. So in our quest for meaning, we have certain goals that we want to achieve, some things that we want our life to look like. But once we get to those milestones, it's always the case that our mind reverts to baseline, and that which we thought was exceptional, that which we thought was our culminating goal, our magnum opus, suddenly feels normal. So this is because the brain is an amazing organ. The brain always resets to baseline. So I will explain this with a dark version and a bright version. So in the past, the human race has suffered mightily. There has been slavery. There has been genocides. There has been starvation. There has been atrocities of every kind, invasions. There have been plagues. And yet through it all, people still smiled. People still had a baseline. People still loved. People still got married. People still had kids. People still had brothers and sisters. People still had friends. People still had loyalties. People still worshiped God, even in the worst of times. This shows us the absolute resilience of the human race, which is why I'm a human supremacist. I believe we should just, as a human race, be unlimited by our potential. So that's the dark version. Even in the worst of times, we revert to baseline. But also the opposite is true. We all have heard of examples of people who, quote unquote, made it, but then are unsatisfied. This is true for celebrities who, go down like drugs and everything, but that might make an extreme example. But you probably have felt this in your own life. Maybe you wanted to get into the prestigious college. Once you got in, well, that's the new normal. It doesn't feel that great an achievement anymore once you do it every single day. This YouTube channel, for example, whenever somebody finds out that I have a channel, I usually don't talk about it with people in real life. They're like, wow, that's amazing. This is exactly what I wanted to do. You have 30,000 subscribers. That's awesome. But for me, like that's the norm. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not grateful for what I have. I'm just saying that the human mind resets to baseline. And so if you're on a quest for meaning and you think that meaning will be achieved through goal fulfillment, you are mistaken. Meaning is not achieved through goal fulfillment. So if you think that you're going to find meaning at the end of this tunnel, at the end of this journey, you are sadly mistaken. And so this is why sometimes entrepreneurs will create their dream business and then tear it down because they felt that they should have gotten more out of it. And this is why a lot of self-destruction happens. You probably have heard or seen YouTubers who have everything that you desire, right? There are people who, this is the thing. There are people out there who have achieved the dream outcome that you are struggling for, and they don't seem grateful for what they have, and they tear it down. You've seen this happen. That's because they reached the end. They reached their castle. They felt that they thought that they would get meaning out of it, but they didn't get meaning out of it. So they get through this, they go through this, they get to their castle, and then they just roll back all the way down to where they started from. This is a very common thing, boys, and we don't want that. That's why we don't assume that we will get meaning from goal fulfillment. Meaning comes from service. That's the thing. what we're talking about here is goal fulfillment is not the same thing as service. So if you want to have a quest for meaning, then service is where you're going to find it. Now the thing is, these are not one or the other. So achieving goals gives you power, and the more power you have, the more service you can do. And if you do the service, then you get meaning. So to make this this is all conceptual, right? Let me bring this down to real life. Let's say I was making $100,000 or $1,000,000 per month. I have a level of power and opportunity that I would not have with my current income. I could use that power to provide service for mankind, and that more than the actual dollars in the bank would give me meaning. So that is how it all comes together, boys. So we have covered motivation and the fickleness of motivation. We've covered mindset and how amorphous mindset is. We've covered meaning, which we won't get at the end of the tunnel anyway, because the new baseline is set. And I'll go a little bit deeper into this as well. It's also true of relationships. This is why there's a term called the honeymoon period, right? You have a girl who you love. You have this culminating exercise, which is you get married. And you have this honeymoon period, which everything is perfect. She could do no wrong and everything is amazing. Like she's a goddess and everything's perfect. 2 weeks pass, couple of years pass, couple of kids pass. And then it's like, where's the romance in the relationship? Where's the honeymoon period? It's gone because you reset the baseline. It's not that she became less lovely or you became different. It's just that that's the new norm. The married state is the new norm. And then you stop seeing the magic in it. And that's a relationship example. But same thing for income as well. Like you make the 10K per month. Awesome. Cool. You won. And then 10K becomes the norm. You make 20K per month. Awesome. Good job. And then 20K becomes the norm. And the numbers never stop. And that's it, right? The numbers never stop. The relationship, everything resets to baseline. And therefore, if you're looking for meaning from goal setting, you're not going to find it. All right. We talked about the mind and how it's a farce. Now we got to talk about what to do, right? We talked about all the things to avoid. Now we got to talk about what to do. And I will give you the answer to this as well. And by the way, when I say I'm going to give you the answer, it sounds very, very, like I figured it out, guys. Like here's the secrets. It's not. I am on the journey as well as everybody else is. And I'm just sharing with you what's worked for me. So if this works for you, awesome. If it doesn't work for you, then I hope you find something that does. So here's what's worked for me. First thing is beliefs. And I will explain. I know what you're thinking. That's not how you spell beliefs, is it? Regardless. You're thinking, well, beliefs. Well, isn't it the same thing as mindset? Well, is it? When I speak about beliefs, I'm speaking about strictly evidence-based beliefs. Like, why do you believe anything? So everything that you believe either because you've observed it yourself or because somebody has told you to believe it. I'll give you an example. And this is a real example. So in my years of coaching, a common thing which I sometimes see is guys will say, well, I can do all this stuff, but I'm never actually going to succeed in relationships because I'm 5'5". So this is a common one. And I asked them, well, okay, is there another man on this planet who is 5'5", but has an attractive girlfriend? And the answer is, well, yeah, there's at least one guy out there who is 5'5" and has an attractive girlfriend. So if that's true, then there's no reason why it couldn't be true for you. Another example, which I often see is, I was diagnosed with X. So I've been diagnosed with ADD when I was a kid. I really want to start a business, but I'm not able to do it. I can't do it. It's like, okay, is there one person on planet Earth who's been diagnosed with ADD who succeeded in business? It's like, yeah. Okay, then why not you? That's relationships, but in other things as well. So every single time you're like, I can't do Y because of X, the question which should be in your mind is, has this ever been done before by anybody? So race is another one, actually, which I'm seeing more commonly. People will say, I can't achieve X because of my race. And it's like, has somebody of your race achieved that thing before? Yes. Then okay. Then do the same thing. right? Put in the same inputs and you get the same outputs. Like, what are we talking about? So when I say beliefs, I'm not talking about mindset. I'm talking about like evidence-based stuff, like things that you can see and observe. That is what I'm referring to when you think about beliefs. And that's tier one. So tier one agency, like you can think about it as an agency. So tier one agency is you have a goal, you think you can achieve it because of your handicap, but then you look for a counterexample. Has somebody else with that same handicap achieved that goal? If the answer is yes, it means that you can also do it. That's agency level one. Agency level two. Now, this is something different altogether. This is when guys are like, okay, I have this goal and nobody has done it. And therefore, I'm going to do it. This is agency level two. This is your Alexander. Alexander was like, when he saw the world, it's like, okay, nobody has ever conquered Persia. Okay, I'm going to do it. This is like the Elon Musk. The entire world was telling him, well, you can't have reusable rockets and have commercial space flight. And he's like, okay, so nobody's done before, but what's the physics reasons which can stop me? Oh, there's none. There's only technology and money. And you can create technology and you can generate money. Therefore, I can do this. And then he did it. So agency level two is when you see that there's no counterexample, but that doesn't stop you. So to be clear, like being either of these levels is fine. I don't think you need to be the next Alexander in order to live a happy life. I'm more so saying that like agency level one is much more realistic for 99% of the population. I'll just put it that way. And there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not saying actually that agency level two is superior in some way. I think agency level two is just something which is like if you're already the next Napoleon, if you're already the next Caesar, then you already know. So this video is not even for you. This is for normal people like myself and you. So we are with agency level one, which is, can we find a counterexample of the person who has had the same handicap as us and succeeded? If yes, then there's no reason why you shouldn't succeed as well. That's where we are, and that's okay with me. If you want to achieve even greater things, then by all means, do so. All right. So that's agency. So that's beliefs. Beliefs over motivation. And beliefs, I'm talking about like strictly evidence-based beliefs. What do we replace mindset with? Well, replace mindset with your behavior set. Oh, yeah. So instead of mindset, we talk about behavior. Talk about behaviors instead of mindset. So what's behaviors? Behaviors are that which we can observe. So I'll give you an example. If you have two guys, actually, I'll give you a very real scientific example. They did a study and they had two cohorts, and both cohorts were trying to lose weight. So these were like slightly obese people, essentially. And the only difference between cohort A and cohort B was they told cohort A, hey, every morning, I need you to take a picture of your scale. Like you stand on your scale, you see your weight, and send us a picture of your scale. They sent the pictures. Cohort B was not told to do this. Neither group got a diet plan. Neither group got an exercise plan. Neither group were given any kind of personal coaching or anything like this. Which group do you think lost more weight? Well, obviously, cohort A lost more weight. Why? Because of the simple act of behavior change. They changed their behaviors because they were tracking their outputs. They were tracking their weight. And in so doing, they were more cognizant of the actions that they had to take. So what they ate, how much exercise they did, were influenced by the fact that they were just tracking. So just tracking their behaviors was all they needed to do. Now, to be clear, tracking in itself is a behavior. So they changed their behaviors and that changed the outputs. So that brings us to our core concept, which is SICO. SICO is change inputs, change outputs. So this is a part of the bridge which is going to get us to the castle. So we don't care about mindset, we care about behavior. Behaviors are observable, behaviors are verifiable, behaviors are trackable. Mindset is none of these things. Now let's go to meaning. Well, how do we find like let's say you reach the goal, right? What happens next? I said that once you reach the 10K, well, the 10K doesn't feel fulfilling anymore. Once you get the perfect girl, well, even she doesn't seem as fulfilling anymore. So you never find fulfillment. What can you find? You can find fulfillment through skill development. So we talk about skill sets instead of meaning. And developing in your actual skill will actually bring you more fulfillment than the actual outcome itself, because the outcome just sets to baseline. But skills, you can always improve in your skills. And I'll give you an example to drive this home. So what makes a good soldier? What makes a good soldier? Well, the US Army can pump out soldiers by the thousands. You go to Army, what do you call it? AIT or OSIT. It's Army basic training. Go through Army basic training. You come out the other side after like 22 weeks or whatever, and you're a soldier. Like, awesome. So what are some skills that a soldier needs to have? Well, one thing is he needs to be able to fire a rifle. But within the skill of firing a rifle, there are multiple sub skills. How do you clear a malfunction? How do you control your breathing when you're under stress and looking downrange? How do you choose the best optic for your job? How do you maintain the rifle? Like, how do you actually take the rifle apart and maintain the parts? All these are sub skills within the overall skill of firing a rifle. And then, of course, rifle is just one weapon system. You might have more weapon systems. You might have the M249, which is kind of a machine gun. You have the M240, which is a bigger machine gun. You have an M2, which is an even bigger machine gun. And each of these has a different procedure to clear malfunctions. Each of these has a different procedure to take it apart, to strip it, to clean it. Each of these has a different kind of lubricant. Each of these have different kinds of ammunition. And there's different ammunition types. There's different kinds of optics. Like, the way you aim a machine gun and fire it's quite different from a precision rifle. And that's just the weapons. And a soldier also needs to be able to travel long distances, need to maintain his hydration when he is under the hot sun. He needs to know how to perform first aid in the field. He needs to know how to ruck. Like, how do you travel with a heavy ass backpack, rucksack on your back for long distances? How do you maintain the feet care? Like, your feet will get chewed up sometimes. You need to be able to maintain that to continue the mission. Then there's night optics. Like, how do you do everything which I just described? How do you do it at night? And then how do you do it in the cold? How do you do it on a mountain? How do you do it in the desert? How do you do it in the jungle? And there's actually some things like that. There's Arctic school, which teaches you how to do it in the cold terrain. There's jungle school in Hawaii, actually, which teaches you how to do all this shit in the jungle. There's and then there's vehicles. You need to learn how to drive a Humvee. You need to learn how to drive a GLTV. You need to learn how to drive different vehicles. Like, what I'm trying to say is, under the thing of becoming a soldier, there's skills. And that inside those skills, there's more skills. And here's the key thing. I opened this section by saying, well, what makes a good soldier? Like, what's the difference between a regular infantryman and a special forces soldier? That's the key here. Like, theoretically, both know the same skills in a sense. Like, both of them know how to shoot a rifle. But the special forces soldier, he knows those skills like the back of his hand. Like, he has those skills, same skills, different level. And on top of that, he has other skills as well. For example, a special forces soldier is always airborne qualified. So they know how to jump out of an aircraft. They might be Halo qualified, which is like a different kind of like insertion method. They are scuba qualified, so they know how to insert through underwater. They are demolitions trained, so they know how to use explosives. They are indirect fire trained, which means they know how to use mortars. They have like other weapons, like not just the M4 rifle, but they have bigger rifles and different rifles. All I'm trying to say is, skills is the unlimited tree of opportunity. You're not going to find meaning in this castle, but you will find a skill tree that you enjoy. And in developing your skills, you actually might find meaning. So at the end of the journey, it's not that the outcome was what you're looking for. It's actually the evolved skill tree that you're looking for. So I gave you a military example, but as easily I can give you a business example. When you're just starting out, well, okay, what's business? You got to get customers. You got to sell them something which they want. Ideally, and which time they might buy more, or they might buy more expensive things. That's business, right? Business is divided into marketing, sales, and product. Well, what's marketing? There's lead generation, there's lead nurture, Inside sales, there's conversion rates, there's qualification. Inside product, there's retention, there is ascension. And then inside each of these, like, what does ascension look like? What does retention look like? Inside retention, how do you have a customer retain? Well, do you build them annually? Do you build them monthly? Does that make a difference? In marketing, well, how do you nurture your audience and eventually ascend them to customer? Like, the game of business is as complex or even more complex than, well, I would say more complex. It's at least as complex as military, right? And you have this massive skill tree which just becomes bigger and bigger. And that's where you find fulfillment in getting good at that skill. So that is the journey, boys. It's beliefs about reality. It's behavior change followed by skill set crafting, like skill set more than mindsets. Now we go into, okay, one last thing about skills. So I think I already touched on this, but I didn't make it concrete. Skills are wide and deep. So for example, a special forces soldier versus a regular infantryman. Well, both of them know how to fire a rifle. But if you were to guess who would fire the rifle more accurately, like, let's be real, right? The special forces guy is probably going to take the cake. I'm not trying to diss my infantrymen. I'm just saying, like, and first off, infantrymen are like all special forces soldiers are infantrymen first. So I'm not dissing the infantry. I'm just saying, like, special forces have a bigger budget and they have more time to train. Like, they're gonna get better. So in the same skill, you can get better. All right. Now let's make this actionable. Boys. Let's bring this down to a level that we can attack. So I'm going to give you a framework which you're never going to forget. And this is the framework. First, we start with the goal. Now, remember I said earlier that, well, goals are not going to bring you meaning. I still stand by that. But goals do give you power, and power gives service, and service gives meaning. So in that sense, goals does eventually lead to meaning. So we first need a goal. And the thing is, you don't have to make this very complicated because everybody has the same goal. This is what I started off the presentation with, right? We all, like, this was such a relief when I learned it. It's like everybody wants the same shit. Everybody wants to improve their income. Everybody wants to spend less time doing the things which they don't want to do. They want to spend more time doing the things which they do want to do. And everybody wants relationships which fulfill them. Like, think about this, right? Everybody wants the same things. Everybody wants to spend more time doing the things they want, less time doing the things that they don't want, and more people in their life which they enjoy being around, and less people in their life which they don't want to have around. That's it. Everybody wants the same thing. So goal, of course, you can make it as specific as you want, but broadly speaking, everybody wants the same thing. The only thing is what divides people who get it from the people who don't get it is the next step, which is observable actions. Long word. So give me like 5 seconds to write down. Observable actions. So this is what I was talking about before, boys. Goals, observable actions. Observable actions are the shit that you can actually do and you can actually see. So the way I think about this is, imagine if I had a coach, like a life coach, let's call it, right behind me. A mentor, maybe that's a better term. A mentor right behind me. In fact, in the quick digression, in the Odyssey, there's a character called Mentor. And I think that's where the word mentor comes from, because mentor mentors Odysseus. So imagine if you had a mentor standing right behind you and he couldn't see inside your mind, but he could see the actions that you took. What actions would you take? That's the question. And also, what actions would you not take? Imagine if you had a person you love and trust, who's always with you 24/7. Would you be addicted to junk food? Would you be addicted to porn? Would you be texting girls at 4 a.m.? Would you do any of these things which are not conducive to your goals? Answer is no. The reason why we do these things is because we feel like there's no accountability. We feel like there's nobody looking over our back. And then we betray ourselves by doing these actions which are not conducive to our goals. That's why the insistence on observable actions. And I will drive this home with the last point, which is tracking. If an action is observable, then it can be tracked. And as we know from the legendary Peter Drucker, what gets measured gets managed. If it's not measured, it doesn't get managed. And this comes back to that example which I gave about the weight loss. But there's also another example. They had two cohorts. And the first cohort was instructed to look at their bank accounts every single day. Cohort B, they were told to do no such thing. Which cohort do you think improved their income at the end of the experiment period? Obvious, right? The cohort that looked at their bank account, like just looking at the bank account was enough to change the behaviors, which was enough to change the outcomes. So the two big frameworks that we want to talk about on this call is SICO, which is change inputs. That's a terrible I. And change outputs, change inputs, change outputs. And the other is this GOAT framework. So GOAT, goals. You convert your goals into observable actions and then you track them. That's it. So I'll give you an example. Weight loss. What's your goal? Want to lose weight. Okay. What are the observable actions? Well, skip breakfast. Let's say that's an example of an observable action that leads to this goal. Track it. How many days did you not have breakfast? Or go to the gym. Goal, weight loss, observable action, go to the gym. Tracking. Just have a checklist of your days of the week. Which days did you go to the gym? Goal, make more money. Observable actions, make more videos. Tracking. How many videos did you make per week? Goals, get stronger at the deadlift. Observable actions, do more deadlift. Tracking, track the weight of your deadlifts. Goal, have better skin. Observable actions, use tallow. Have a face wash routine. Tracking, how many days do you do it? Goals, have a better social life, right? What do you do? Now here's what the magic happens. Like, this is where people get lost. So I will build this out a little bit more. So let's say the goal was to, let's actually go a bit one step back. Let's say the goal was to break an addiction. Actually, no, I won't do that example. I'll do the example after. Let's say the goal was to get a girlfriend. All right? Get a girlfriend. That's the goal. Okay, awesome. But you're like, well, okay, what needs to happen to get a girlfriend? Well, first you need to talk to a girl and the girl has to like you. Okay. Talk to a girl. Observable action. But you might feel, well, that's challenging. I don't know how to talk to a girl. And even if I do, I'm too nervous and then she doesn't like me. So what do I do? Well, okay, got it. So you can't do the immediate observable action, but you can take it one step down. Can you talk to any human being once per day? Well, yeah, you can talk to a human being once per day. So every single day, what you do is you have one conversation with a stranger, which is easier to do than one conversation with an attractive female. So you start there. Now, let's say that you can't even do that. It's like, okay, understood. You have social anxiety. You're scared. You don't want to talk to a human being. Got it. How often can you say hi and make eye contact to a human? Not even have a conversation. Can you do that every day? Can you track that? Well, yeah. Well, let's say, well, I can't even do that. Well, okay, fine. Can you get out of the house every day? Well, yeah, I can get out of the house every day. Then let's start there. So you scale it back all the way until you find an observable action that you can actually do. Can you get out of the house every day? Well, yeah. In that case, track how many days you get out of the house. You do that. And then you can level up. Like, okay, fine. Now consistently you're getting out of the house every day. Awesome. Can you talk to a stranger every day? Okay. For 5 out of 7 days, I talk to a stranger. Awesome. Can you start talking to female strangers every day? Okay. 2 out of 7, 3 out of 7 days, I'm talking to a female. Like, okay, awesome. Can you talk to an attractive female? And then track that. It's like, yeah, once every week, I do actually talk to an attractive female who I would actually like to date. Awesome. Next step. Can you ask her for her number? Oh, that's too hard. Like, okay. Let's go back a step. Can you compliment her? Yes. Okay. Then you develop the skill of complimenting. Can you hold eye contact? Yes, you can hold eye contact. Does she smile back? Yes, she smiles back. Now can you ask for the number? Yes. So you scale up the observable action until you can do the actions which are conducive to the goal. And that might take years. So eventually you start getting numbers. Like, okay, good. Can you get dates? Do the girls actually show up? Okay. We have that skill unlocked. Now, once you have the that skill unlock. Can you maintain a relationship? Okay, now that you're maintaining a relationship, then you go into marriage. So as you keep going, like the skill set keeps evolving, but you always need a starting point. And that's kind of what this arrow implies. You have this goal of eventually having a meaningful and fulfilling marriage. But the starting point, the observable action, might literally be stepping out the door. See what I mean? So the observable action might be very far from the goal, and that's okay. So long as progress is being made, then you're on the right track, which brings us to tracking. So you got to track these things because without data, can't make decisions. Without data, you don't know if you're making progress or not. So that's the GOAT framework, boys. You're not going to forget it. I've kind of drilled it into your head with all the examples which I gave. Change inputs, change outputs, GOAT framework, motivation, a fickle friend, mindset, an amorphous term, meaning an illusion which you're never going to get to. What we should do instead? Change your beliefs using real world evidence, not like talking to yourself in the mirror, not telling yourself you're so great. Like, this is where the affirmation stuff is confusing. Like, people will have these affirmations and the law of attraction. They'll have all these, the secret, like all these mindset things. And none of it has resonated or worked for me. But evidence fucking works, right? So stick to the evidence. Stick to your changing of behaviors. Don't worry about mindset. And once you get to your goal, whatever that goal might be, maybe it's financial, maybe it's relationships, we don't worry about the goal itself. The outcome isn't what drives the fulfillment or the meaning. It's actually the skill set and developing as a skilled practitioner of whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's what actually gives you the meaning. So if you're a soldier, getting better at your weapon systems. If you're a businessman, getting better at marketing, sales, and product. If it's relationships, being of the maximum level of service to your partner. All these things, like the actual skill set of getting better and better, getting deeper and deeper skill set, well, that's what will actually bring you fulfillment. So I will start to close this one out, boys, with a final word, as it were. Depression and anxiety. I'll close it with depression and anxiety because these terms, depression and anxiety, like what do they mean? And how do we get out of getting stuck with either of these? So let's be precise. Depression is when you don't see any options, when you don't feel like you have any options, or if you feel that all your options lead to the same place. That's depression. Depression is when you feel like no matter what you do, nothing's going to work out for the better. Depression is when you start thinking, well, there's no point, no matter what business I start, I'm going to fail because the economy is shit. The AI bubble is going to kill me. Depression is when you think, well, even if I do X, Y, and Z, well, it's not going to matter because I'm too short. I'm not going to succeed at relationships. Depression is when you think, well, no one will love me because I haven't been loved as a child. Things like this are depression. When you don't feel like you have options, or the options that you do have seem to lead to the same place. Anxiety is the opposite. Anxiety is when you have too many options. So social anxiety, what is this really? Social anxiety is when you go into a social situation and there's like 100 different things that you can think of doing, but you don't know which one is the right thing to do. That's social anxiety. Especially like if you go to a fancy restaurant, it's like, is there a certain way to hold the fork? Well, there's 100 different ways you can hold the fork. Which is the right way? You don't know. Or somebody like an attractive person comes into your life and they say hi. Like, well, how do I respond? Do I say hi back? Do I say, how do you do? Do you say, like, what do you say? You have a million things you can say and you don't know which one to say. That's social anxiety. But of course, social anxiety is just one type of anxiety, right? There's other kinds of anxiety. You can be anxious in business. Like you have 10 different video ideas that you can make. Which one should you make? So anxiety is when you have so many options, you don't know which one to take. Depression is when you see only one option and it's a shit option. So that is the two places where people get stuck. So I bring this up because if you know which one it is, then you can defeat it. So how do you defeat depression? It's first understanding that it's never the case that you have no options. You always have options. You always have options. It just, if you are depressed right now, you can approach it. I recommend you approach it using a physiological approach. It's winter, like not for me, obviously, I'm fucking sweating, but it's winter for the vast majority of the planet. Buy a sad lamp. It's a seasonal affect disorder lamp. It's a big ass lamp. It's like this big. and it's very bright light. And using a sad lamp will low key just fix depression for a large number of people. Now, obviously, if you have like mega depression, like I don't know, something's wrong with like the circuits in your brain or something crazy, it might be different. Of course, I'm not saying this one thing will cure everybody, but great place to start. Get yourself a sad lamp. That fixes depression for a lot of people. And if it's more of a mental thing, then instead focus on writing down what options you actually have. So once you start writing down the options that you actually have, then you can't be depressed because it's like you have options. And when it comes to anxiety, again, the same thing helps. Writing down all the options that you have and then selecting one at the exclusion of the others. So anxiety is solved by focus. Now, what's focus? Well, focus is an important one. So I think this is Steve Jobs who said this, right? It says that focus is not saying yes to the thing you want, because saying yes to the thing you want is easy. It's in the definition. If you want something, you're going to say yes. But it's hard to say no to the things that you do want, but are not conducive to the things which you want the most. I'll simplify this. So let's say you want to grow a business, but you also have these relationships that you care a lot about. You also want to go to the gym every day. You also have this. You have music practice. You have college. You have classes that you want to succeed at. You have a million different things pulling at your attention and time. Focus is the ability to say no to 90% of the things and saying yes to the 10% of the things. So focus will never feel good. That's the thing. Because the challenge isn't saying no to the things you don't want. That's easy. Focus is saying no to the things that you do want, but are not the main things. And with that, I will close out. It's been a lovely morning. Now it's almost like, what is it? 8 a.m. for me in Hawaii. I'm going to go for a swim. See you guys next live stream. Let me know if this was fun for you. If it was, I'll do more. If not, I might still do more. So, all right, boys, I'll see you. Thoughts on raw meat? I've tried it once. I went to Italy and actually I met a channel subscriber. So every time I travel, I almost always connect with the channel subscriber, and they show me the ins and outs of every city that I go to. And when I went to Barcelona, I met some guys, channel subscribers. When I went to Italy, I met a channel subscriber who showed me the secrets of Italian gelato. And he also introduced me to raw meat, because there's a dish in Italy called the steak tartare. And it's just like, it's raw meat, it's seasoned raw meat with salt and everything. And it has like a raw egg on top. Well, just the yolk, not the whites. And I had it, and I didn't know what to expect because I'd never had raw meat before. And it was really, really, really good. And you feel amazing after. Like I've never felt more hydrated or energized after a meal. Like it's protein, right? It's a heavy meal, but it doesn't feel heavy. It feels super light. So I like raw meat. Like the one time I have tried it, I liked it a lot. I think I will do like a raw meat challenge. Like I'll have it for 30 days and I'll just, record it. I'll live stream it and see what happens. And to be clear, I have antiparasitics with me. Like I have the ivermectin, I have fenbendazole, I have albendazole. So if parasites get me, like I have the medication to solve it. So I can take the risk because I know that I have the means to combat it. So I can take the L, boys. I can take the parasite pill and tell you if it's worth it or not, basically. All right, boys. Adonis Willen, floor sleeping is a scam. No, I don't think it's a scam. I'm going to make another sleep video. So I remember I made a sleep video like 2 years ago and it was really good. Well, at least I thought it was really good. I learned so much more about sleep because, well, now I have these Aura rings, right? Like I have so many members in my community, my membership service, which all have Aura rings. So instead of just looking at my own personal reflections and my own ideas about sleep, I actually have, for the first time in my life, right? I actually have like scientific level data on sleep from a large pool of guys of our similar age group and everything. So this time when I make a sleep video, like it's not hypothetical at all. I have numbers behind it. So I will make that video with the updates and everything. Thanks for bringing that up. Like, yeah. All right. King, I don't know what I said. What about ivermectin? Yeah, ivermectin is good. I think albendazole has some benefits, but ivermectin is good. So anyway, boys, that is the last of the questions which I will answer. Make a video on religion. Okay, I'll say one thing about religion before I leave out. I think I am making this hypothesis. more and more YouTubers and Instagram influencers will convert to Christianity or Islam in the upcoming 5 years. And this will be fake. Let me explain. This has already started to happen with the OnlyFans chicks. You've seen the phenomenon of OnlyFans girls who quit OnlyFans and they get on these Christian podcasts that talk about Christianity. I think this is complete bullshit. I think if they really repented their actions, then they would be in a nunnery, not on podcasts. So, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about branding. I'm talking about branding. The the best, like the most established brand on planet Earth is Christianity. And the thing is, Christians have suffered a lot to build that brand. And shout out to all those men and women who have sacrificed a lot to build the brand of Christianity. And of course, Jesus Christ himself sacrificed everything for the brand of Christianity. But the thing is, branding sells, boys. Like branding sells. And so when influencers start to lose their clout, start to lose their audience, they need to build their brand back up. So the way branding works is through associations. So people want to be associated with a good brand in order to build their own brand. And the best and most powerful brand that there is Christianity, especially because Christianity has this message of redemption. So people who are losing their audience or losing trust with their audience, et cetera, it's just too easy for them to be like, hey guys, I found faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm going to be a Christian now. Look at me. I am so good. I have repented. And people will buy this and people will believe this, but this is nonsense. This is inauthentic behavior for the sake of views, cash, and status, essentially. So I want everybody to be vigilant and not like just because somebody says they're Christian doesn't mean that they're Christian. And people have asked me many times, well, am I Christian? And the answer which I give is always the same, which is no, I'm not a Christian, because there's only ever been one Christian, and his name was Jesus Christ. So with that, boys, I will leave off. Thanks for attending this live stream, and see you again next time.